Hi there, prog rock fans, and today I have a special review of the brand new album from Big Big Train called The Likes of Us, released on Inside Out Records on the 1st of March 2024. Now, first of all, can I just take a moment to thank Inside Out Records for the privilege of having an advance copy of this album to review it for you guys out there. Thanks ever so much, Inside Out. Now, this is one of the highlights of the year for me so far, and is an eagerly awaited and anticipated release following the all too well changes forced onto the band. So this is BBT's 15th release, although in some quarters it is being reported as their 16th album. Hey-ho! And the first with Alberto Bravin as their lead singer. Now, along with Alberto, there is Greg Sporton on bass, guitars, keyboards and backing vocals, Nick DiVirgilio on drums, vocals, guitars and keyboards, Richard Schoblom on guitars, keyboards and backing vocals, Dave Foster on guitars, Claire Lindley on violins and vocals, and Oscar Holdoff on keyboards and vocals. It's got 8 tracks on the album. It lasts 64 minutes in total, and I'm very excited to listen to it and give you guys some idea of what to expect. So, we start off with Light Left in the Day, and this is one of 3 tracks that have been released so far and is the most recent at the point of the video being recorded. Alberto delivers a short set of lyrics at the start of a quiet opening to the song. It's a little teaser to his singing style, and then there's a delicate acoustic backing. There follows a beautiful brass section that's such a feature of this very best of this group's work, before the rest of the band come in with piano, mellotron, bass pedals and lead guitar. All hell breaks loose then as the song kicks into action with an upbeat, lively passage. The production quality is extremely clear and all instruments can be heard to their fullest. There's some excellent drums in there and strong guitar harmonies as well from Foster and Schoblom, as well as distinctive synth melodies in there. As an opening track, it literally feels like a kitchen sink has been thrown at it, with every instrument seemingly used. But listen, it works. It works really well, and it's an excellent start to this album. Oblivion is next, and again, this is a track that's already seen the light of day. This was written by Nick DiVirgilio and Dave Foster. Now, I have already done a reaction to this one. I'll leave a card for it up here somewhere along the top somewhere above my head, and I do urge you to take a look at that one when you have a moment and you've finished watching this one. It's well worth it. I like this one straight away, and it's a track that seems to just blend the best of bands like Porcupine Tree and Riverside into a driving power track that will undoubtedly become a favourite at future gigs, no doubt about that whatsoever. It has that type of clarion call that will just make you want to sing along at the top of your voice. Oblivion! Beneath the Mast is next, and is one of 2 epics on this album, clocking in at 17 minutes. It's a traditional storytelling song from the band and is about Greg Sporton and growing up in Sutton Coldfield, which is in the Midlands in the UK, for those of you that don't know, in the 60s. Now, this area became really associated with the growth of TV and radio, hosting 2 massive radio masts in the location where Greg lived. Now, when he returned back to the area more recently to look after his stepfather, he realised just how much these masts were a part of his character. The song is incredibly sad, but with a more upbeat ending, it did remind Greg that you were always part of a really bigger whole. So the track starts with beautiful 12-string guitars played by Richard and Dave in that early Genesis style that was so effective, as well as some pretty strings in there as well. The likeness to Genesis is further perpetuated with really a 4th moment where Albie's vocals start at the 2.5 minute mark. Now, after this first verse, there's a gentle violin solo from Claire that adds that extra layer to it all. Just sumptuous. Now, the resemblance of these vocals to David Longdon is really quite uncanny in places. I'm sure it wasn't intended. It just did. The harmonies in the chorus are beautiful. At around 7 minutes, there's a mini solos from the guitars and strings before the pace and tempo change, leading into a section looking back really at his childhood, I think. About change again, and at 10 minutes it goes bonkers with some ELP sounding music, and then there's a blistering double guitar solo followed by a violin solo. It's really excessive prog rock of the finest King Crimson style, in my opinion. But these comparisons are really unfair, as the track more than holds itself as a true prog masterpiece. It all comes back together for a grand finale and a light, wispy finish with those 12 strings again, and I'll be singing the lyrics that closely relate to the inevitable passing. It's an absolute standout track that I doubt will be bettered, but there's still 5 more tracks on this one to have a look at first before we make that kind of decision. Skates On has the task of following, and it's about mortality and the importance of living your life to the full, as the lyrics say. It's time to get your skates on. We're only here for so long. Time to get your skates on. We're here and then we're gone. A pleasant 12-string opening again before a much harmonised vocal start, and there's a steady tempo to it all. It reminds me of the Tony Banks track, The Life from A Curious Feeling. It's got that soundscape to it. Now, it's not the most favourite from the album on first listen, but it's based on the expression, get your skates on, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on. Now, the second epic of this album is next, and is called Miramar, at 10 minutes long. It's translated roughly from the Spanish or Portuguese word in origin to mean sea view. And essentially there you have the basis of the song, its travels on the sea and the expectations that it so often brings. Beautiful harmonies open the song before a simple piano accompanies Alberto in a ballad-style opening. Now, for the next section, there's a wicked bass line from Sporton's Rickenbacker playing to accompany the vocals before the rest of the band join in again and are back in there. The synth in the background sounds like waves surging up and down before it's all brought back together with a violin section from Claire that's used throughout the piece to end each segment. This is repeated again before a short instrumental section kicks in with that main theme coming back, closed off with Claire's fiddle once more. Now, for the instrumental break in this next stage, there's a gentle set of arpeggios that are played before the monumental crash of a mellotron designed to replicate waves crashing into the boat that is repeated 3 or 4 times. This is the most dramatic section of the track and is very powerful and profound. Again, all hell's breaking loose for a couple of minutes with an explosion of prog magnificence before finally being pulled back to quite an exquisite ending. Another really good track. Lover's Delight is a ballad, and whilst it's a very nice track, it feels a little out of place on this album, as to date all the tracks have had a mixture of styles within them, which has worked very well. But this is really solely a ballad, and one that drags, to be honest. The only saving grace is a couple of lead guitar instrumental sections. Alberto has a fine voice, but I was not really keen on his falsetto interludes. Bert Marks is next and continues in that early Genesis 12-string approach to deliver some beautiful lyrics and bang-on harmonies. Co-written by Sporton and Bravin, this is clearly a strong songwriting team developing, make no mistakes. Now, the lyrics paint a vivid picture of nostalgia, friendship and the passage of time. They speak of shared experiences, dreams and the inevitable changes that life brings to us. The song seems to convey a sense of longing and a search for comfort and familiarity in the face of change. It's a beautiful piece of music that will resonate with many listeners, I have no doubts whatsoever. And we end with Last 11, and this starts with some intensity at last, which has been lacking in some of the openings. I believe that Nick DV takes over the lead vocals on this one. Although they all sing with impeccable skill, this one possesses a more funky approach to it that has not been noticeable on the tracks so far. But it's an older track that deals with a theme I can relate to very well. Those that do not automatically shine, come to the forefront, get picked first for your soccer and cricket teams. Those that are always left until the end. But the magic of the story is that more often than not, these guys really excel in the end, better than their more popular rivals from the time. Think back to school times. I like this story a lot, and it seems a great way to close the album. And in closing, I have really enjoyed this new debut from the band. The thing that hits me straight away is the camaraderie. This was an album that was recorded close up and personal in his studio together and not over Zoom, that has really become the norm since COVID. The instant blending into the band and its culture of Alberto is uncanny, and the strength and diversity of his voice is like having an additional instrument, even allowing for those falsettos. On the singing side, the harmonies are an absolute standout, and it is clear that those who do join in are really accomplished vocalists in their own rights. They are spot on. Newcomer Oscar Holdorf appears to be an excellent addition as really a proper designated keyboard player at last. And finally, the beauty of Nick DV on the drumming is excellent, and he keeps a very tight ship in controlling this band to perfection. Now, it's not a 10 out of 10 album for me on first listing, as a couple of the tracks don't necessarily work at this point for me, but it's a very strong 8.5 out of 10, really is. The Likes of Us will be released on several different formats, including for the first time on Dolby Atmos and a 5.1 mix by the Pineapple Thief's Bruce Seward, while the stereo mixes were undertaken by the band's regular engineer Rob Aubrey and Alberto Bravin himself. The Dolby Atmos mix will come as part of a limited CD and Blu-ray Mediabook edition that also contains the album as a 5.1 surround sound and 24-bit high-resolution stereo. The album will also be available as a gatefold 180-gram 2LP, available in black, sky blue, olive green and orange formats, standard CDs, dual cases and digital album. The stunning artwork was created by the band's long-standing collaborators Sarah Louise Ewing, with layouts by Steve Vantis. Now, I may well come back and review this album in a few months' time once I become more familiar with it, but I hope that you all enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And for exclusive content and reaction requests, have a look at my Patreon page. Thanks for watching,